The amazing revelation from Christ in a channeling session. Introduction. A year ago, I dared to channel the voice of Christ. I only got a few paragraphs, but I was not satisfied. A year later, I felt a powerful urge to resume the session. To my astonishment, it came through with remarkable clarity. I decided to share this extraordinary experience with you. I hope you can discover some valuable insights from it. A brief conversation with Christ. The English pronunciation of Jesus is similar to Yahweh, which means wind and sky, implying the world above. And that is where I came from, beyond your world. It is the element of wind while yours is the element of earth, a line below that of wind and light. It took a lot to descend into your world. A lot of gates opened with guardians wondering why such a being would seek to descend into the realm of chaos, the forbidden zone. With love and glory down I came, where now history remains as echoes from the past and an unexplored treasure awaits. Thinking of me as calling on my name. My name is my essence, and those who have opened themselves to this world of spirit have gained more extraordinary abilities to access this world of the wind. It ends up that destructive energies use them more than constructive energies. Their heart desires have trapped them. They seek higher power to satisfy the desires of their flesh and material wealth. This makes them remain in this physical world while other beings use their higher essence. This is slavery. However, just slightly above this world of wind, there is light, a higher understanding, and this is my dwelling. This map is within each of you where you can use your mind and enter this state to uncover inner realities. These realities will eventually manifest externally as you constantly tune in, and then this inner light will illuminate the body. Your key to spiritual growth is the expansion of your understanding. You don't have to struggle to change your action for spiritual transformation to take place. But when you improve your perceptual understanding, then your actions will also change. And thus your means to cultivate and elevate yourself is through contemplation. By contemplating, you will transform the essence of who you are. By conversing and dialoguing with those of higher energies, you will then learn and grow. It is not necessarily for you to devote hours of physical meditation and chanting, but just use your intellect to travel, use your imagination to elevate. And it is through the changing of your lens of perception then you will elevate your physical vibration. Being born again is accepting all you think you know as a relative truth or a temporary reality. This mentality will allow you to accept alternate ideas and entertain them without attaching them to concrete truths. When you think of truth as a building, you can enter any building at any time and exit whenever you want. So, the only permanent truth is you. You can freely move along any type of building to explore and experience them, without needing to possess them, attach yourself to them, or become them. You are tuning back to your inner rhythms. You are following the path that leads back to your God, your paradise, and there is nothing that will judge you according to that. It is because you have accepted other people's ideas then you feel guilty of following that which does not align with others' constructs of reality. Question. You have mentioned something about those who have opened up in the spirit world, and that they are used by negative forces. Can you elaborate? Answer. I cleared the negative entities as I opened the channel and removed all negative and destructive influences during this session. So, even in the future, anyone who reads this statement will benefit from it. Question. What do we call you? Answer. The name Jesus has a similar pronunciation to Yahweh. Some call it Yehua or Yehua. The correct and proper intonation is Yuwa. Question. Personally, it never mattered. But because I am planning to share this conversation with others, can you set this straight? What ethnicity were you? Answer. It should only matter because of the context of the customs and traditions of the people at that time. This will help you understand my teachings from a traditional and cultural point of view. But it should not matter if I am black or white. These things have no context in the teachings, and the contents of the heart are more significant than physical appearance. All of the traditions and customs of people at that time can be found in the Old Testament in great detail, which should be used as a guide to discern the teaching. Then you can have your own interpretations and portraits, as these are mere symbols and icons for representational purposes only. Question. Can you explain to me or elaborate on what you meant by no one can come to my Father except through me? Answer. The Father in my teachings implies protection and guardianship. This means an individual will be protected and watched over, and that the alliance behind me, the alliance I was representing, was not in a sense a monotheistic God. It was not that there is only one alliance, but specifically the one I was inviting other people to enter was through my teachings, and even today the Paradise Alliance that I represent, an individual from Earth can only enter by following my teachings, the original teaching. So, it should be understood that every spiritual teacher has a paradise, and that once someone accepts their teachings they can enter into these paradises. Therefore, it is advised not to mix different schools of thought, as your minds are sacred and can only handle one train of thought at a time. These are what you call seeds of consciousness, as a passage to a certain reality. Additionally, other higher spiritual beings come to Earth specifically for this passage to access other reality. They sacrifice entering this zone of forgetfulness to reach certain teachings. Question: tell me about Christianity. Answer: the result of people's interpretation of my teachings across time as they try to understand their relationship with the Creator, and some benefit from these organizations. Regardless of all these shortcomings, if a person really seeks the truth, they will always find it amidst the greatest deception. After all lies are based on truth. Question: did you really die and rise from the dead after 3 days? Answer: dying is being born on one side and being born is a death from the opposite side. The reality of crucifixion and resurrection is not in the event, but rather the meaning behind it all and the interpretation of the event. There are people saying that I later escaped and got married and had children. Some say that I faked my death and used Judah to die for me. However, as reality might appear to you, my life and my words were to awaken parts of you that were dormant. You must also realize that what life was at that moment is not what it is in your current civilization. People of that era understood things very differently. It was the ideal time for me to apply my teachings, so I chose to enter that domain of reality for a specific reason and purpose. What remains now are mere echoes and fragments of my accounts. Past events become distorted over time, as different reincarnations of souls enter this realm to seek these teachings. And it is through these echoes and fragments of my past accounts that those of different eras can connect with me. This is to say that it is not that important for you to know whether the event really happened or not, but rather, what would that information do to your transformation, as you are at the edges of this reality where you only see a fuzzy image and distortion unless you enter into this reality and witness it yourself. You view it from your current understanding and mentality, which was very different back then. As a matter of fact, there are diverse realities adjacent to my era. You somehow have to understand that even the past is a dimension on its own with diverse conscious laws that might not work in your era. Had I physically come to your dimension, the role-playing of my life would be very different to ignite this dormant spark within people. And thus to this dimension, which is your current era, I remain as a historical figure because of the foundations of your reality. I hope this clears up some kinks. Question: how about healing and miracles you performed? Were they as described or over-exaggerated? Answer: pronouncing the word miracle signifies that the subject is not clearly understood in its ignorance, because in those times there were schools of magic, something equivalent to your science today. It was a discipline of internal energies, such as how you organize material substances to create marvelous equipment. Back then we developed internal mechanisms to perform miracles and healing, and therefore it is prejudice to regard it as a miracle or mystery because there are underlying principles and mechanisms to what we did. Question: based on what you tell me about internal energies discipline, what is a prayer and how do we pray? Answer: religion is undigested information. What this means is that a prayer as you understand it is from the perspective of ignorance, as a prayer is more of an invocation for reinforcing manifestation, not in such a way as many religious people understand. Therefore, there are combinations of words that provide the basis for constructing a certain reality. This is the same way a person builds a house with walls and interior. So, then the words uttered during prayer are just for constructing your manifestation. They are uttered in sequence and in special tones. There can be the same word, but the word can also be said with different tones. Thus, even in Christianity, the concept of a choir it's not to just sing, but that is this discipline of creating a certain reality. Human vocal cords act as intricate vibration projectors to manifest reality, while the cathedral and its geometric structure magnify these vibrations. Therefore, there are many things to consider when constructing a cathedral. These include locations, energies flow, altitude, geometric patterns, and much more. This is ancient knowledge known to few. A cathedral, like an ancient Egyptian pyramid, is an instrument for magnifying energies through tonal sounds. Thus, when the choir sings, they sing in a uniform manner to amplify certain vibrations. Thus, it was a science of sounds and tones that stimulated and energized the chakras through sound. This then would allow those who are activated to energize their chakras for miracles. It was how people used ether or mana. The cathedral was used as a device to generate these energies and fill the magic with people. Thus, people came with water, soil, the deceased, and such, and as the energies were generated, healing, energizing, and purification would occur. Question: so, are you saying that the way we pray has no impact at all? Answer: it does, because prayer is about intention, energy, and space for manifestation. Ordinary Christians pray to deities, such as Mary and other saints. These deities consume devotion as energy. It is exchanged or transformed into an answered prayer. So, as long as there is a supply of energy in any intention, the prayer will be answered. As I discuss the alliance, there are countless types of alliances. It is like a village, society, country, or group of living organisms. So, because a person is a member of a certain community or group of beings, their needs are taken care of. Keep in mind that these alliances are not only limited to your physical dimension, but multidimensional, where they can make things happen. A person connected to a team of fairies, guardians, angels, etc. can ask for favors from them. So, as long as you devote yourself to your alliance and pledge your loyalty to them, they will provide protection and many other things. So, a preacher in a specific church might not even represent the type of alliance I presented. However, because this preacher has a large and capable alliance, then they can perform miracles and heal people. Therefore, by combining these manas, or ether energies as devotions, these religious deities can perform miracles. This is because they are offered these energies during worship. During my time, this knowledge became corrupt and was only offered to a few, whereas I came in and provided it to many. Then you can understand that visualization for manifestation without these universal energies will drain your vital energies. In addition to this, when visualization is supplied with enough mana in the presence of an ally, then manifestation is guaranteed. Question: what you tell me reminds me of Tartaria. Does it have anything to do with original Christianity? Answer: there were different societies back in those days, where both used similar technologies, but differed, like having an American and Japanese vehicle. Thus, the rise of different musical instruments and musical tones. Earthly practices used naturally occurring locations to summon these energies. For example, mountains, giant trees, caves, and such, as these places were connected to etheric channels. The giant trees could reach the ionosphere where etheric energy is plentiful. Later, as people moved around because of natural disasters and wars, they compensated by building artificial structures to cultivate these energies. Tartarian was also among the escapees that came together and lived harmoniously to create these geometric structures. For the Tartarians, it was not just the cathedrals, but the high courts, schools, parliaments, and all the government structures created to channel these etheric energies. So, then these people's mental clarity and focus were above the average person today. Most of the things were handmade, but more sophisticated than what you create today. These people had high moral standards as etheric energies flow through those with a certain character. The times of Moses and King Solomon were a civilization with a greater understanding and cultivation of these energies than you are now. Crystals, enchanted items, and all other jewelry were heavily incorporated and infused with these energies for various purposes. Due to the decline and depletion of this energy, electronic devices that utilize lower vibrational energies have emerged, because the electricity used today is of a lower vibrational tone than the type of energy used back then. As moral character declined, people sought other ways to cultivate this energy. In a sense, the abundance of this energy has tremendously diminished over the last 2,000 years. This caused humanity to seek other means to cultivate it. As a result, ancient cathedrals, buildings, and such became empty shells. Question: are you saying that these etheric energies are scarce nowadays? And how could someone recharge themselves with it? Answer: the etheric energy is like a living being in the sense it is conscious and intelligent, just like water, and water is also part of it on the chemical levels just as it is in the etheric realm. Because of the types of thought vibrations humans clung to, they have polluted and diminished this energy field over time, just as scientists predicted water scarcity in the future. As there are life and ecosystems on every octave in a given realm, as the human mind generates certain frequencies, it opposes this etheric field and other life forms on higher vibrational frequencies. Just like polluting the environment, natural ecosystems are disrupted by this. So, this is the case, and what is left are residues and dense vibrational energy fields such as electromagnetic frequencies and electricity. These fields are less compatible with the mind. You can accumulate it by visiting areas with fewer human activities and abundant natural resources, which is why you can feel its presence when you visit these places. The techniques for accumulating it include visualizations and activations of the energy centers. However, remember that this energy is intelligent and conscious. Even though it can be directed by the mind, it also follows the quality of a character. If a person has a bad intention or a mentality of pursuing it for the sake of showing it can reject these types of candidates, because it inherently flows through those in harmony with it. And when an individual sincerely seeks to be in harmony with this energy, it will begin to flow through them. This energy will fill their energy centers and they will be surrounded by energy beings. So, in a way, this universal energy rectifies a person effortlessly without effort. Question: I wanted to ask about believing in your teachings and believing in you. Which one is correct? Answer: the teachings are directions that once a person seeks truth and follows my teachings, they will find this eternal current, they will find the kingdom within. My teachings are simply the principles. Thus, a scholar is not obligated to worship me or know me, as these teachings are guidelines for universal principles. Believing in me can be interpreted in two ways. The first is believing in what I teach and following my teachings. While they follow my teachings, I will guide them and explain the inner meaning. While the second is believing in me as their master, Lord, or Savior. This way it is up to me to work on the person, as they have allowed me to come into their lives as their teacher. I know you are wondering about those who do not change or improve themselves, but still claim to believe in me, holding the mentality that however reckless they live their lives, it does not matter, because mercy will be upon them. Remember that everything is paid for in full, and all principles are in effect. If a person says they believe in me and do not follow my teachings, they will remain unchanged and will not elevate themselves. Therefore, the idea of me being God is misinterpreted. I represented the fusion of this universal energy within in a human form, which meant I reached the Godhood state that every man can reach if they follow my teachings. But this statement does not validate them worshiping me, as those who wish to worship something outside of their inner kingdom are most likely not willing to do the work themselves to reach that state, as they have already decided that their state of being is who they are. They have identified this current state of being as their true identity, and thus seek something higher than this state to praise or worship, because deep down they believe they can't reach this state. This is such a harmful mentality, something which goes against my teachings. Question: what can you say about hell, heaven, and the devil? Answer: the kingdom is within you. Therefore, the manifestation of these states depends entirely on what is within a person. Thus, a person becomes or manifests hell as the result of how they live, and a person is raised to this heavenly state as the result of what is planted within and nurtured to mature and bear fruits. The physical manifestations of these places are indeed fruits from within, which cannot be escaped by fear but by raising one's state of being. Mass consciousness expands concurrently, whereas other dimensions and physical realities are the results of mass consciousness, then depending on the interpretation of the founders of a certain reality. These interpretations create probable realities and alternate realities. If in their minds there are these ideas of hell, these realities become subsets of the primary reality. As society thrives, these other realities open up and merge with the primary reality for these people to experience it. They also tell others about their experiences. For this reason, if the mass consciousness strongly believes in hell, hell becomes adjacent to their reality where people experience it to tell of its account. However, the creation of all this begins from within. If this knowledge is not understood, a being is trapped in its own creation. Question: tell me about Christ consciousness. Answer: as I stated before, elevation of your perceptual understanding comes a greater ability to comprehend. This greater awareness leads to a new foundation of how one leads their life. Thus, Christ consciousness is the bread of life and anointment that will illuminate your consciousness. Thus, this comes after the fusion with the universal life energies, where all confusion and darkness will fade away. You will arrive at a higher state of consciousness and become the illuminated one. Therefore, this illumination does not have race, gender, or creed. This is what I brought forth to your realm. Question: so, then what is God? Answer: the highest state of being relative to the current one. This includes the expansion of all aspects of man, such as the mind, emotions, and body. Isn't that what you project on this external being? Project it within yourself, and there you have your God.